The collapse of a dam is a devastating event where the force of water is unleashed with overwhelming power. In an instant, everything in its path is destroyed, leaving behind a trail of chaos. Now, we'll witness impressive footage capturing the exact moment these gigantic structures gave way, revealing the relentless power of nature. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Binge Banzo channel. Let's dive in. On a quiet Sunday morning in 2024, the town of Stanislavski in Poland was struck by disaster. The local dam along the Moralka River suddenly gave way after erosion compromised the embankment. In an instant, a powerful wave of water rushed downstream, flooding the town and nearby villages. The collapse happened so quickly that many residents had no time to react. Some managed to escape, but others had to be rescued by helicopters. To make matters worse, the team responsible for the dam lacked radio communication, leaving everyone at the mercy of chaos. Despite the destruction, a true miracle occurred. No lives were lost. A disaster that had all the makings of tragedy ended with rare relief amidst the chaos. Edenville, Michigan is a small community along the Tittabawassee River, marked by tragedy in 2020. The Edenville Dam, which formed Wixom Lake, collapsed after heavy rainfall weakened its eastern embankment, triggering a catastrophic failure.
There we go, there's the rush.
The disaster forced the evacuation of residents in Edenville and Sanford as the water rushed towards Sanford Dam, about 10 miles downstream. A resident captured on video the exact moment the structure failed. Revealing the initial flow of water before its complete release. A forensic report revealed that decades of mismanagement and flaws in the original construction from the 1920s were the primary causes of the disaster. In 2014, the Mount Polley mine in British Columbia, Canada, became the site of one of the most significant environmental disasters in the country's mining history. The collapse of a dam storing toxic copper and gold tailings released millions of cubic yards of waste into the environment, causing irreversible damage to rivers and local ecosystems. The response to the disaster was swift, with the province mobilizing multiple agencies to mitigate the impacts throughout August and September of that year. The mine remained in a state of maintenance and repair until 2019, when operations were suspended again due to falling copper prices. This event not only marked mining history, but also raised critical questions about safety practices and environmental oversight. Lake Texoma, located on the border between Texas and Oklahoma, is one of the largest reservoirs in the United States, covering about 140 square miles. It was created with the construction of Denison Dam in 1943 and is fed by the Red and Washita rivers. The dam and lake serve essential functions: flood control, water supply, hydroelectric power, and river flow regulation. However, in 2015, Lake Texoma demonstrated nature's unpredictability. After torrential rains, water levels rose rapidly, leading to a disaster. Roads were submerged and destroyed, while the dam's spillway turned into a terrifying whirlpool, consuming everything around it. The city of San Marcos, Texas, was one of the hardest hit. As the waters surged rapidly, authorities ordered an immediate evacuation during the night. Temporary shelters were provided for residents who had to leave their homes, while rain continued to lash the region, worsening the damage. Recently, a shocking video began circulating, capturing the terrifying collapse of an earthen dam in Myanmar. The structure, designed to contain toxic waste from jade mining, failed dramatically. The footage shows, in harrowing detail, the complete failure process. First, cracks appear, followed by a catastrophic rupture that releases a wave of sludge and debris. The dam literally dissolves, while a destructive torrent sweeps through everything in its path. The waste flow advances relentlessly until it reaches what appears to be a nearby mining pit, where it accumulates, creating a scene of devastation. This tragedy is not an isolated incident, as Myanmar has a dark history of mining-related disasters. In Uzbekistan, witnesses captured a tragic event on video showing the exact moment the Sardoba Reservoir Dam gave way. The dam, part of one of the region's largest water facilities, with an area of about 23 square miles and a depth of up to 92 feet, was designed to ensure irrigation for local lands and generate electricity. Built in 2017, the project promised to transform lives by providing vital resources for agriculture and development. However, in 2020, the structure failed catastrophically. The dam's collapse resulted in massive flooding, submerging about 235 square miles of land and forcing the evacuation of tens of thousands of local residents. In 2021, a catastrophic event shook northern India when a glacier in the Himalayas broke apart, unleashing a violent flood. The mass of water and debris rapidly descended the mountains, striking a small hydroelectric dam in the region. The devastating force of the torrent completely destroyed the structure, releasing even more water and intensifying the floods. The disaster affected several downstream villages, which were quickly evacuated by authorities in an effort to save lives. It is estimated that between 100 and 150 people lost their lives. The Oroville Dam in Northern California is one of the largest in the United States. Built in the 1960s, it was designed to store water, provide hydroelectric power, and control flooding. With its massive concrete wall, the dam holds back Lake Oroville, the state's second largest reservoir. Standing at 754 feet high and over 1.5 miles long, it is not just a gigantic structure, but also a crucial pillar for water management in the region. Especially during droughts when stored water is essential for irrigating vast agricultural areas. However, in 2017, the imposing dam faced an unexpected challenge. Intense rainfall hit the region, putting the structure to the test and triggering a serious safety incident. On February 7th, the dam's main spillway was damaged. To prevent an even greater disaster, the California Department of Water Resources decided to halt water flow, causing the reservoir level to rise dangerously. Eventually, water overflowed through the emergency spillway, a component never before used. But the situation worsened when erosion on the slope next to the dam began to further compromise the spillway's stability, creating the imminent risk of a catastrophic collapse. In a desperate effort to control the crisis and lower the water level, the gates were opened, but it was not enough to contain the disaster. With the risk of imminent collapse, about 188,000 people were evacuated, putting an entire town on high alert. Fear and uncertainty gripped the population as authorities tried to prevent a tragedy of even greater proportions. The situation was brought under control before a full-blown disaster occurred. The mass evacuation and intense efforts by authorities prevented the flooding from becoming a catastrophic disaster. Following the incident, Oroville Dam underwent reconstruction and modernization to increase the spillway's capacity. The Nolu Dam, located on the river of the same name in Tennessee, was a famous attraction for its stunning waterfall, admired by locals and tourists for more than 100 years. However, in September 2024, Hurricane Helen, with winds of 150 miles per hour, hit the region, transforming into a post-tropical cyclone. The heavy rains caused the river to overflow, and the Tennessee Valley Authority issued a red alert regarding the risk of the dam breaking. Despite the record increase in water levels, the dam held strong, preventing an even greater tragedy. This video captured the exact moment when an immense dam in Texas gave way in a wave of destruction. With over 90 years of history, the structure, once a landmark of engineering, succumbed to the weight of time and neglect. The collapse was sudden, an explosion of overwhelming force that altered the course of the waters and caused devastating impact in the region. Experts believe natural wear on the steel and inadequate maintenance were the primary factors in the failure. Shortly after the accident, authorities launched an investigation to determine the precise causes of the disaster. In Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil, the collapse of a dam in the luxury housing complex Nasa Park, located between Campo Grande and Yaraguari, caused significant damage. The water inundated several homes and parts of the highway, creating a devastating scene. The state's Environmental Institute reported that the project had been notified for 5 years for failing to meet legal requirements, such as the absence of a dam safety plan and an emergency action plan. The Public Prosecutor's Office of Mato Grosso do Sul reported that 11 properties were affected by the collapse. According to Jaraguari's civil defense, one residence was completely swept away by mud and water, while many domestic and farm animals also fell victim to the disaster. Additionally, 2 wooden bridges were destroyed by the force of the incident. On June 24, 2024, the Rapidan Dam in south-central Minnesota partially failed after days of heavy rainfall raised the Blue Earth River level. The failure occurred at the dam's western pier. The flood caused significant damage. One house collapsed and was swept away by the river. Power poles fell, and a substation was destroyed. The dam store, a historic place that had existed since 1910, was demolished as it could not be saved. The collapse of the Cauca River Dam in Colombia exposed the serious problems of the Ituango hydroelectric project, located near Medellin. Begun in 2011, the project faced resistance from the start, with environmentalists warning about the risks of flooding and calling it an environmental crime. The government planned to relocate residents from at-risk areas, but faced strong opposition. Construction was marked by failures. 3 channels were built to divert the river, but only one worked properly. In April 2018, landslides blocked the channels, causing the dam to fill rapidly. In an attempt to prevent a greater disaster, the operations room was sacrificed, but this only delayed the inevitable. In May, the water pressure unblocked a channel, causing floods that affected nearby areas like Valdivia. With public pressure and ongoing issues, the project's future became uncertain, and its completion, initially planned for 2021, remains undefined. The collapse of the Waterville Dam, located in North Carolina, triggered a series of dramatic events that shook the region. On the 27th of September this year, the incident caused widespread flooding and forced the evacuation of hundreds of residents in neighboring Cocke County, Tennessee. The volume of water released was so significant that authorities had to act quickly to ensure public safety. Stunning aerial images released by the Tennessee Highway Patrol in Knoxville revealed the devastating scene in Newport, the main city in Cocke County. The city was completely submerged, with streets, homes, and businesses disappearing under the turbulent waters. Over 70,000 people were forced to flee their homes in 2017, when Puerto Rican authorities issued an urgent alert. The Guajaraca Dam, in the island's northwest, was at serious risk of collapse. Hurricane Maria, which had devastated Puerto Rico days earlier, caused significant structural damage to the dam, raising water levels and leaving the population in panic. With imminent danger, authorities ordered mass evacuations to prevent a catastrophe. Entire families abandoned their homes, taking only the essentials before the worst could happen. Now imagine a succession of devastating collapses. That is exactly what happened in South Carolina during the record rains of 2015. With unprecedented water volumes, several dams gave way, causing a wave of destruction estimated to have caused damage worth $1 billion. Among the most striking incidents was the collapse of the Old Mill Pond Dam in Lexington. The force of the waters destroyed part of the local infrastructure, forcing authorities to close roads and advise drivers to avoid the area. Despite the chaotic scenario and the magnitude of the damage, fortunately, no casualties were reported. The Brumadinho tragedy, which occurred on the 25th of January 2019, was one of the most devastating environmental disasters in Brazil's history. The collapse of the Feijão Dam in Minas Gerais caused a wave of mud that swept through the Brumadinho community, leaving a trail of destruction and suffering. Approximately 270 people lost their lives, and dozens more were injured or went missing. The dam, owned by mining company Vale, was storing mining waste, and its failure was caused by a combination of technical factors and inspection failures. The collapse of the structure released over 423 million cubic feet of waste, invading the city and destroying everything in its path, including homes, roads, and the headquarters of the mining company itself. In addition to human and material loss, the tragedy caused severe environmental damage, contaminating rivers and affecting the region's biodiversity. The local population and mining workers suffered immediate impacts and long-term consequences, including the contamination of drinking water sources and the disruption of economic activities. In response to the disaster, Vale faced investigations and legal proceedings, was fined billions of dollars, and was required to carry out reparative actions. Security cameras captured stunning footage of the moment when the Lisa dike overflowed at the Pau Branco mine in Nova Lima in the metropolitan region of Belo Horizonte at the beginning of 2022. The incident caused immediate chaos, blocking roads and endangering lives. The force of the waters severely compromised the local infrastructure and forced an emergency operation to rescue about 400 wild animals from the affected area. Valorec, the mining company responsible for the structure, faced severe consequences. The government of Minas Gerais imposed a fine of $57 million on the company, highlighting the severity of the event. In July 2019, the Toddbrook Dam, located in Whaley Bridge, England, faced a critical moment that nearly turned into a tragedy. After days of torrential rain, the structure of the dam's spillway began to fail, resulting in the collapse of several concrete panels. This rapid deterioration raised fears that the entire dam could give way, threatening to flood the town and endangering thousands of lives. Given the gravity of the situation, about 1,500 residents were forced to leave their homes immediately, while authorities and engineers worked tirelessly to stabilize the dam. Emergency actions included pumping over 264 million gallons of water from the reservoir to relieve pressure on the structure. One of the operation's most dramatic scenes was the use of helicopters to drop sandbags into the erosion hole in an attempt to contain the damage. This joint effort between authorities, engineers, and the local community was crucial to preventing a large-scale disaster. Fortunately, the dam was stabilized, and residents were able to return to their homes after days of tension and fear. On the 23rd of July 2018, the collapse of the Saddle Dam D, a hydroelectric dam located in southern Laos, triggered one of the region's most devastating disasters. The structure failed to withstand the accumulated pressure, releasing approximately 17.6 billion gallons of water in a short period. The immense volume of water affected entire villages, leaving a trail of destruction and suffering. The disaster resulted in the deaths of dozens of people, although the exact number of fatalities remains uncertain due to the catastrophe's magnitude. Additionally, thousands of residents lost their homes, being forced to seek shelter in precarious conditions. Properties were completely destroyed, farmlands were rendered unusable, and the local infrastructure was severely damaged, making access to isolated areas difficult. In September 2023, a dam in southern Norway partially collapsed, triggering a crisis amid a series of storms that had already battered the mountainous region. Days of torrential rain resulted in landslides and devastating floods, forcing entire communities to evacuate hastily. The disaster's consequences were widespread and immediate. The region's main roads were closed, isolating various areas, while rail services were suspended, disrupting mobility and the transport of supplies. Rivers, already at critical levels, overflowed, flooding vast areas and threatening properties and infrastructure. This was one of the worst floods in the last 50 years. Now observe this terrifying scene. Two enormous runaway barges broke loose on the Arkansas River in Muskogee, Oklahoma, creating a scene of chaos and danger. The vessels collided violently with a dam in the region before sinking into the turbulent waters. The incident prompted a swift response from local authorities, who acted to prevent a larger disaster. Concerned about the possibility of the barges striking the Interstate 40 bridge, one of the area's main road links, and causing significant structural damage, police took drastic measures. Key access roads were immediately closed, halting traffic and causing disruptions for hundreds of drivers. Additionally, nearby residents were ordered to evacuate as the risk of collapse or catastrophic flooding loomed due to the elevated river level, which was already above its normal capacity. Fortunately, no injuries were reported. Very much for watching the video until the end. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.